Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Gnosis. In my first video, chapter 3, I decided it's time to go back and just do a simple settings video. I actually have not done one in about a year exact, about a year and 1 week, and something I noticed is all the new settings videos for this new chapter are like 15, 18 minutes long, and quite frankly, they don't need to be more than like 3-4 minutes. So we're going to fly through these and just give you right off the bat the best settings you can be using for your specific setup. So starting right out, you always want to be full screen. The reason why is if you use any of the windowed options, you're going to have input delay. Resolution, of course, you always want to be in HD. Your frame rate, a lot of people put on unlimited thinking, yeah, let me get as much as I can. That's actually not good. You want to cap this at whatever your monitor is capped at. For instance, my monitor is 240 hertz, so I cap this at 240. But the reason you don't want to cap it above generally what your monitor is that it will start causing input delay if that's off. Brightness, 100. You don't need it too bright, in my opinion. If you have a dark monitor naturally, you can play with it. Colorblind, a lot of pros used to use this one right here. I don't really know how to say it, but the past season or two, I've seen more pros going back to no colorblind because of the graphics changes. And for me, that also seems like the best choice. I just see best with no colorblind. Okay, so coming down, view distance, I like to use medium. You can do near if you want to get better frames, more frames, but I feel like it's good to have it at least medium, so when you're jumping off the bus, you're coming into the map, you can kind of see where the good guns are and land on. You always want to land on AR so you can beam anyone landing beside you, and just being able to see an AR from the sky is very important. Everything else, shadows, anti-effects, post-processing, all this on low. Textures, you would think go on low, but a lot of us have found medium or high actually give you better frames. Okay, so VSync off, motion blur off, show FPS you always want on because it's good to know what your FPS is in game. If you, for instance, have a PC that usually runs, let's say 140 frames a second, and you're suddenly getting 90 frames a second, it's important to know that so you can diagnose what's going wrong. Is it because you're running Spotify in the background? Is it because replay mode's on, or maybe your PC can't handle that? It's always good to keep an eye on your FPS just so you know when you need to try to fix something. Okay, this one's a big one, rendering mode. So many people use performance mode, and if you're on an NVIDIA graphics card, you 100% should be using performance mode. But if you're like me and you're on an AMD graphics card, for whatever reason, performance mode does not work with AMD GPUs, and DirectX 12 is by far the best choice. So this one is very situational. If you don't know what your graphics card is, or if you have something that's not NVIDIA or AMD, I would try DirectX 12 and performance. I usually want to go 11. I know a few people say they find it's better than performance, but for the most part, performance or DX12 is what you want to stick to depending on your GPU. Just try both and see which works. Allow multi-thread rendering we want on, and then crash debugging off. Okay, moving on, toggle sprint, you always want off. You should always be sprinting at all times. There's no reason you should ever be walking on this game. Same with sprint by default, it should be on. Sprint cancels reloading, of course, off because you're always going to be sprinting. And auto open doors, I have on. The only time I could ever think it when it's awkward is if an enemy edits a door into their wall and you get stuck in the animation of opening their door, but that rarely ever happens. I don't think it's ever happened to me, and I play 5 hours a day. Like, generally you want auto open doors on. It just makes it easier when you're looting, running into houses. Okay, so a few of these I'm gonna skip just because I don't think anyone really uses them. Preferred item slots, this is very subjective, just whatever you feels best. Auto sort consumables to the right, I personally have on, but again, that's very subjective. So reset billing choice, I have on. Disable pre-edits I have on, but a lot of competitive players actually do use pre-edits now. It's something I need to, actually, as I'm making this video, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off, and I wanna make a video on how to use pre-edits because they can be so effective. So this one, if you're not comfortable with pre-edits, you don't have to turn this off, but if it's something you wanna start learning more about, turn it off and start messing around with it, see what you can do. Okay, turbo building, of course, on. Confirm edit on release. This one, if you're on controller, 100% should be on. If you're on PC, it's more subjective, but most fast editors are gonna tell you at this point to turn it on. Okay, now here on controller options, this is also very important for mouse and keyboard players, so pay attention. Even though it's on a controller, this affects both inputs. So come down to slide hold time, we want to put this on 0.1. All this does is make it to where it's instant when you hit your crouch button to where you start sliding. A lot of people when they first started playing this chapter said the sliding felt a little clunky. This will completely fix that, I promise. And then vibration as well, I always turn off on controller just because it's easier to aim if your controller's not shaking. And there you have it. Like I said, there's really not too much you need to go over. These settings videos taking 15-20 minutes. It's just way too much. This is all you need. I promise you, you follow these settings, you're gonna have the best performance possible. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm about to go out of town for the weekend, but I will be back next week and get another video made going over some general tips and tricks. And until next time, keep on grinding.